when I was doing business in Taiwan.
Jail is jail. What business are you talking about?
Uncle Song asked me to hand this letter to you personally.
Uncle Song is giving me trouble again, but then again, he's an old friend. It's hard for ex-cons to find work who would hire a former prisoner. Why the long face? Every brother here has done time, but they've all turned over a new leaf. Some people like to adopt orphans. As for me, I like to take in ex-cons because I'm the veteran among them. Listen up, everyone, this brother here. He is new here, everyone look out for him. His name is what's your name? Sung Se-won. Call him Brother Hao.
Now Brother Hao has lost the dashing spirit he once had. All he wants now is to go straight and live a stable life. Once Brother Hao and Mark were at the top of their game. They were brothers who went through life and death together. Both worked for a company that was a finance firm on the surface, but was actually Uncle Yao's counterfeit money syndicate. Brother Hao was mature and steady, remaining calm under pressure. Mark was cynical and lived life in the fast lane. After finishing a deal that day, they went to report to Uncle Yao together. Brother Hao professionally handed over the results of the deal to Uncle Yao, while Mark was off to the side flirting with the female staff. Uncle Yao highly praised Brother Hao's abilities, but pointed out his one fatal flaw.
Your weakness is that you trust people too easily.
With that said, Uncle Yao arranged a deal in Taiwan for Brother Hao the day after tomorrow. He specifically told Brother Hao to take Xing along on the trip, show the newcomer the ropes. Little did he know this decision would completely change the life paths of Ho and Mark. During their chat, Ho suddenly remembers it's his younger brother Kit's graduation day. He's anxious, having had no time to prepare a gift. Zhiying this Mark teases him now that Kit has graduated. Why not get him a woman?
Get lost. I've gone down a bad path myself. I don't want him following in my footsteps. Don't be such a square.
This simple exchange is filled with Ho's deep affection for his brother. The sentiment of the eldest brother is like a father is perfectly captured here. Ho rushes to the hospital to find Kit. Even though his brother is now a grown man, Kit still acts like a playful child in front of him, even enthusiastically playing a game of cops and robbers with him. Excitedly, Kit announces the good news of being admitted to the police academy. At the news, a flicker of hidden gravity crosses Ho's face, and he responds only with an absent-minded nod. Kit then introduces his new girlfriend Jackie to his brother, explaining he must accompany her to a music exam pressed for time. They exchange a few hurried words before leaving. In the ward, their father takes Ho's hand, earnestly advising him to quit the underworld and go straight. For years, Kit has been completely unaware of Ho's life in the triads. Kit has dreamed of being a cop since childhood, and now that dream is coming true. Their father, however, is filled with dread, fearing that one day, the brothers will end up on opposite sides of the law. The games of their childhood have turned into a cruel reality. Ho falls into deep thought for the sake of his brother, and for the sake of his family, he finally makes a decision. He plans to leave the underworld for good after this final deal. That night, Ho met Mark and Xing at a bar and told them about his decision to retire from the life, perhaps sensing a bad omen. He didn't let Mark join the deal the day after tomorrow, and solemnly told him if anything happened to him, he should look after the brothers.
Me? How could I handle all that? Better leave it to Xing. He's already like a little godfather.
Stop kidding me, Mark.
Now that his close brother was about to quit the business, Mark found composure, though his heart was heavy. The day of the deal arrived, and Ho reached the site accompanied by Xing. Stepping out his years of experience in the underworld told him immediately that something was wrong. The man meeting them wasn't Lao Wang, but his shifty-eyed, sneering nephew. The nephew's story was full of holes, making Ho instantly alert.
Clean.
Ah, Mr. Song, you're a man of your word. I've looked up to you since my days in Shemending. Believe it or not, someone offered me 3 times the price to take you out. Are you crazy, am I? That kind of person? Look, I brought the money for you.
While looking out for Xing's safety, Ho was hit by a bullet. It turned out he had been betrayed. Someone had bribed the nephew to set him up and kill him. Soon the police arrived, and the skirmish ended. Xing helped the wounded Ho hide in a cave. As the sirens grew louder, Ho knew there was no escape. He gave up resistance and decided to take the fall alone. Ignoring Xing's desperate pleas, he even held him at gunpoint to force him to leave.
I'm not leaving. I told you to go.
Then he slowly walked out of the cave, dropped his weapon, and stepped forward, marching steadily toward the police. At that moment, his silhouette radiated a resolve to sever ties with the past and start anew. Meanwhile, Ho's father also met with tragedy. Fearing Ho might snitch to the police, the syndicate sent men to break into the house, but the elder Song had a fiery temper and fearlessly fought back against the intruders. In the chaos, he was shot twice and left clinging to life. At this critical moment, Kit returned home and fought fiercely with the thugs, but they were too strong, and Kit was soon overwhelmed. Suddenly his his girlfriend Xiaoqing grabbed a blade and stabbed the intruder in the back. After a violent struggle, they finally managed to subdue the enemy. However, the father lay dying in a pool of blood. Before passing, he revealed Ho's true identity to Kit. He implored Kit that he must forgive his brother. Consumed by grief, Kit blamed his father's death entirely on Ho, his heart filled with bitter resentment toward his brother. When Mark heard the news of Ho's arrest, he appeared at the Ximending overpass early the next morning to find Mr. Wang and learn the truth. Mr. Wang lamented that honor in the underworld had truly vanished. It turned out that young Wang in his power struggle with his uncle had colluded with new forces, leading Ho into a trap. Mr. Wang loathed his nephew's betrayal of their code, showing no mercy even though he was his own flesh and blood. Not only did he reveal Xing's whereabouts, he also offered to send men to assist Mark, but Mark politely declined. He was determined to act alone to avenge his brother. Inside the Maple Forest Pavilion, Mark swaggered in like a lone hero. With a beauty in his arms, he danced to the hazy southern nocturne, his trench coat adding to his suave presence. Who would have thought amidst this music and dance, he had guns concealed right out of sight.
No!
After taking everyone out, Mark coolly tossed his gun aside, pulling out a match and clenching it between his teeth. But the moment of triumph was short-lived as disaster struck. Xing, barely clinging to life, crawled toward the door, fearing 2 shots that wounded Mark in the leg. Mark quickly grabbed a backup gun hidden in a vase and finished Xing off. However, even this couldn't quench his burning hatred. Dragging his mangled leg, Mark limped toward Xing's body and emptied his entire magazine into him, his eyes cold and resolute. By the time the police arrived, nothing remained in the corridor but a mutilated corpse and a trail of gruesome bloodstains. Mark had exacted justice for his brother. In his own way, time flew by, and 3 years passed in a flash. By now, Kit had grown into an outstanding police officer. Ho was finally released from prison. Walking out the gates, he breathed the air of freedom. The heavy underworld aura he once carried had long since faded. Facing the detectives probing, Ho's gaze remained steady, fully determined to turn over a new leaf and start over. I admire you.
For the sake of your friends, you didn't say a single word for 3 years. The irony is, while you were inside, the counterfeit bills outside were still being printed as usual.
I've long since left the underworld behind.
On the anniversary of his father's death, Kit and his girlfriend went to the grave to pay their respects. On the way home, they ran into Ho, who was seeking shelter from the rain. Kit's long-suppressed rage instantly boiled over. Ignoring his girlfriend's pleas, Kit rushed forward, greeting his long-lost brother with his fists as the rain poured down. It was as if the heavens were mourning the insurmountable rift between the two brothers. This moment was the most brutal punishment for Ho. Don't ever show your face to me again. The loss of his father and the resentment of his brother only made Ho more determined to turn over a new leaf. The next day, with nowhere else to go, Ho was introduced by his friend Uncle Zhang to a taxi company. He hoped to earn an honest living and start a new life here. After learning of Ho's intentions, the boss Uncle Qin took him in. It turned out that everyone there was just like him, ex-convicts looking for a second chance at life. Uncle Qin then introduced Ho to the rest of the crew and gave him a job as a taxi driver. From then on, every penny Ho earned was clean, and he finally felt the simple joy of being an ordinary man. But unexpectedly, his peaceful life was soon shattered. While waiting for passengers one day, Ho suddenly spotted a familiar figure. It was Mark, now walking with a heavy limp. Zhiying, his former brother in arms, reduced to cleaning cars on the street for a living. Ho was overcome with a wave of mixed emotions. What shocked him even more was what happened next. Xing, the lackey who used to follow them around, had become a big boss. He treated the down-and-out Mark with utter contempt and cruelty. Ho was devastated. How could his brothers have ended up like this? Driven by these questions, he sought out Mark in the parking lot where he lived. Once the kings of the underworld, these two brothers meet again, but in such a state that both of them are left stunned.
That's not what you wrote in your letters to me.
With those words, Mark is pushed to the verge of tears. He stands and embraces Ho tightly. All their shared pain is felt in silence.
Even if both my legs were broken, I could never repay what I owe you. Don't be silly.
Why are you talking like this? It was just my own bad luck. It had nothing to do with you, Mark.
This is no longer our world. Why are you still hanging around here?
I've been waiting for you for 3 years. 3 whole years.
I want to start over. Mark couldn't swallow his pride and was desperate for a comeback. Ho has no intention of repeating his past mistakes. This instantly crushes the hope that Mark had just ignited. He understands that Ho is making this choice out of consideration for his younger brother who is now a police officer. Still, he can't help but feel a wave of disappointment. Ho urges Mark not to dwell on the pain of the past and to try and embrace a new life. He then takes Mark to have a drink with his new colleagues. As fate would have it, they run into Zhiying.
Why didn't you let me know you were back? That's no way to treat a friend. We were all such good buddies back then, right, Mark? I wouldn't be where I am today if you hadn't looked out for me.
Oh, really, Ellie? You are where you are today. All because of your own talent, right?
What talents do I have? It was Mark who stepped aside for me. Mark, if you ever need anything, just say the word.
Mark ignored him upon hearing this. After all, ever since Zhiying became the boss, the first thing he did was turn his back on his roots, acting all decent and righteous in public. But behind the scenes, he couldn't wait to trample Mark under his feet.
This cup is for my leg.
Mark gave Zhiying no face at all, feeling snubbed. Zhiying had no choice but to leave first. Coincidentally, Kit was also in the bar at that moment. Seeing them together, he assumed Ho was still colluding with the underworld and began interrogating Ho like a criminal, demanding to know if he was just cutting a deal with Zhiying.
Is another shipment coming in? I don't know. Where is the drop-off? What's the delivery time? I don't know if you don't know anything. How can you be a big brother?
Kit's attitude deeply stung Ho, leaving him at a total loss, as he told Kit that he hadn't been a boss for a long time. But Kit wouldn't let it go, demanding to know what he was doing for a living now. Upon hearing that Ho was working at a taxi company, he sneered again. I can't believe there's a company that actually takes in ex-cons. Mark, standing nearby, couldn't listen to this any longer and decided to teach the brat a lesson. Ho stepped in to stop them, humbling himself and begging his brother to believe him and give him a chance to start over. Instead, this only further enraged Kit. Give you a chance.
Why don't you give me a chance? Do you have any idea that I've lost every chance at promotion because of you? Because you're a criminal.
After the brothers' bitter confrontation, Ho became determined to live straight, to prove himself to his brother. Unexpectedly, Zhiying sent his men to find Ho that very day, claiming he had something important to discuss. Ho wanted to refuse, but the sinister Zhiying threatened him using Mark and Kit. Left with no choice, Ho agreed to the meeting. Zhiying's true motive was to force Ho back into a partnership.
You'll still be our boss. Let Mark handle the US dollar route. While I manage the local ops, we'll make a fortune for the company. Besides, we need your reputation to win back our old clients.
But that wasn't the main point. Zhiying wanted Ho to convince his brother Kit to act as a mole, to provide them with inside information from the police.
With one of their own in the force, they would be untouchable.
This demand completely enraged Ho. After lashing out at Zhiying, he stormed out with Mark. Saying that Ho wouldn't cooperate, Zhiying began his sabotage. He leaked fake trade info to Kit, luring him to the pier, where an ambush was waiting. Kit was shot and wounded. Then he abducted Mark and ordered his thugs to beat him mercilessly. When Mark was within an inch of his life, they dumped him at the entrance of Ho's taxi company and smashed all the taxis in the garage to pieces. Returning to this carnage, Ho was pushed to his limit and fought back, even reaching for a weapon with lethal intent. Let him go. Uncle Kin didn't want Ho to end up back in prison for murder, so he forced Ho to let the thugs go.
You worked so hard to go straight for what?
For what? Uncle Kin's words weighed heavily on Ho's heart, so when Mark proposed taking revenge, Ho refused once again.
Don't push me. I'm not going back to that life. The past. It's all over. It's not over for me. I'm still alive.
Zane Mark's stubbornness, Ho, grew increasingly desperate. His brother was lying in the hospital, wounded and vulnerable. He couldn't bear the thought of losing Mark as well.
I have my own principles. I don't want to be stepped on all my life. I've waited 3 years just for a chance to prove myself, to regain my dignity. Not to prove that I'm better than anyone, but to tell them that I will take back what I've lost.
Once legendary and glorious Mark was now living worse than a beggar. He couldn't stomach the humiliation. He had to reclaim what was rightfully his. Since Ho was reluctant to return to the life Mark decided to go it alone, that night he stormed the company's office at gunpoint. He snatched the tape proving Zhiying's counterfeit operation, and the thugs immediately gave chase. They pursued him relentlessly. They cornered Mark in the parking lot, outnumbered and alone. He struggled against the odds and was shot in the arm. Yet he refused to give in, fighting back with everything he had. At that critical moment, Ho suddenly appeared. Just one look, Mark knew that Ho had finally chosen to fight by his side once again. He then handed the tape over to Ho. The loss of the tape threw the company into immediate chaos. The boss lashed out at Zhiying. I regret ever putting my trust in you. If you don't get that tape back, I'll have your head
Go ahead and try if I could betray Song Zihao 3 years ago. Do you think I'd be afraid of him now?
It turns out Xing was indeed the one who betrayed Hao to take over his position. Now that Hao was standing his ground, Xing was prepared for an all-out war. However, he didn't expect Hao to be the one to initiate contact.
10 o'clock tonight. Bring $2 million US to the temple to exchange for the tapes and let me leave by sea.
Is it that simple?
Of course, it wouldn't be that simple. After all, Brother Hao was no fool. He immediately handed the tapes over to Kit's girlfriend, Jackie, and asked her to pass a message to Kit. He said he would leave Hong Kong for good and never bother him again. When Kit learned of this, he was suddenly hit by an ominous premonition. Deep down, he still cared for his brother. So despite his girlfriend's attempts to stop him, he grabbed his gun and rushed out. Meanwhile, Xing had been busy. He killed the boss and gave false testimony, framing Brother Hao for the crime.
He'd landed $2 million from the boss and said he'd be heading out to sea from Saisha Bay tonight. Then I heard gunshots.
It was him. At this moment, Brother Hao was unaware that he was being charged with murder. He and Mark had arrived at the rendezvous point, both looking grave, because they both knew that tonight wasn't really about the deal, but about finally settling their scores with Xing in the Jianghu. Just then, footsteps approached the door. It was Xing. The moment he stepped inside, Brother Hao held a gun to his head and disarmed him. Where are the tapes?
I gave them to the police.
With the money in hand, the two took Xing hostage and headed to the pier where the boat was waiting. But upon closer look, shadows were moving all over the dock. It was clear that Xing had set an ambush in advance.
I knew a bastard like you would pull something like this. You can't escape now. Get out.
As soon as they got out of the car, Mark opened fire, mowing down a crowd of henchmen. The two brothers used Xing as a human shield and moved toward the shore. But at this critical moment, Brother Hao did not board the boat.
Go on ahead. Didn't we agree to leave together?
I have things to finish here. I'll catch up with you, Mark.
Get the boat moving. At Ho's insistence, Mark had no choice but to sail away first. Just then, Kit arrived at the scene. The moment he stepped out, he was surrounded by Xing's men.
Let him go or I'll blow your brother's head off.
Don't do anything reckless.
A life for a life. Kit never expected that instead of helping, he would only become a liability. During the hostage exchange, he tried to make a move but failed again. He failed to catch Xing and ended up taking a bullet himself. As Xing's men attacked, Ho was also wounded while protecting his brother. Facing a common enemy, the brothers finally set aside their past and fought side by side. Meanwhile, Mark, who had sailed away, couldn't bring himself to leave Ho behind. They had faced death together so many times it didn't feel right. He couldn't let this be the only time he left alone, so he decisively turned the boat back. Armed with a submachine gun, Mark was practically unstoppable. His overwhelming firepower quickly dominated the scene in an instant. The entire pier was torn apart by explosions and engulfed in flames. Mark then rushed to Ho's side. The two brothers shared a look and a smile. No words were necessary. The bond that transcended life and death was clear to see. But Kit still harbored resentment toward his brother even as Ho lay seriously injured. He refused to even look at him. Mark angrily dragged Kit toward his brother.
Come here, this is your own brother. Look at him closely. Whatever wrongs he committed in the past, he's paid his debt to you now. He has the courage to start over. Why can't you find the courage to accept him? Why?
He's your brother. However, a gunshot rings out. The bullet mercilessly pierces Mark's head and blood splatters onto Kit's face. He stands there frozen in shock. Mark uses his last ounce of strength to push Kit away. He turns around facing a hail of bullets. Ultimately, he is riddled with bullets by Xing and falls into a pool of blood. Mark's death leaves Ho devastated. He braves the pain to pursue Xing. Kit follows close behind. By this time, a large force of police has arrived at the scene, but Ho has already cast aside all thoughts of survival, even if it means going back to prison. He is determined to avenge Mark. Seeing the police, Xing steps out as if grabbing a lifeline. Ho is about to fire only to find his gun is empty.
Xing shouts arrogantly out of bullets. I'll go out and surrender. Now I'll be just fine. Donovan in trouble. I have money. In a few days, I'll walk right out of that courtroom. With money, I can turn black into white, that's what. I learned from you, but your brother, he's the pitiful one. Because of you, he was white, but turned black. You've ruined him.
These words are like daggers piercing deep into Ho's heart. At the critical moment, Kit hands his own gun to his brother. He turns away, giving silent consent for his brother to execute justice on Xing. With two gunshots, Xing collapses in a pool of blood. Then Ho takes the handcuffs from Kit's belt. He locks them onto his own wrists, choosing to let his brother lead him back to the right path. At this moment, the years of resentment between the brothers finally vanish. Kit.
You were right. We took different paths. The path you're on. You were right. I took the wrong path before. It's not too late to turn over a new leaf, is it?
Walking side by side, their figures gradually faded into the night. The reason why A Better Tomorrow has become a cinematic classic isn't just because of its breathtaking gunfights and its deeply moving brotherhood, but also because it carries the youthful memories and dreams of countless people. This film will always be an indelible monument in our hearts, inspiring us to embrace justice and loyalty on our own paths in life, to move forward fearlessly.